There are days when you wake up and feel like you're being pulled into an invisible whirlwind. Everything is moving too fast, too loud, too chaotic. You haven't even had a chance to breathe before your phone buzzes, messages pop in, and negativity slips into your mind like an uninvited guest. I've seen countless people here in the US fall into this state. To be honest, I've been there too. One night a few years ago during a therapy session in California, a middle-aged man sat down in front of me. He stared at the floor for a long time and finally whispered, "I'm exhausted. I feel like I'm forcing myself to stay positive. The harder I try, the more drained I feel." I understood exactly what he meant. Because real positivity is not about being cheerful all the time or pretending to be strong. It's not about painting your life with happy colors. True positivity is the inner strength that keeps you steady even when everything around you is falling apart. And that's why today I want to share with you 9 Stoic-inspired ways of living that have transformed the mindset of so many people I've worked with. These principles weren't created to make your life perfect. They exist to help you build a steadier mind, a stronger heart, and enough clarity to walk through difficult moments. Because modern life isn't gentle, but your mind can become lighter. Have you ever felt stuck in negative emotions, even when nothing big happened? As if your mind created a dark cloud out of nowhere? Many of my clients feel the same. One young woman once told me, "I don't understand why I'm always anxious. Every day I want to be happy, but my mind keeps running in circles." I told her something very stoic. You can't stop the wind from blowing, but you can learn how to control your sails. Positivity is a choice. Not the choice to run away from pain, but the choice to look at reality with a different lens. Stoics never deny pain. They simply refuse to let pain lead the way. If you're watching this video, maybe you're looking for a small shift too. Maybe you want a calmer mind, a lighter day, or simply a break from the emotional turbulence that keeps pulling you around. And the truth is, you can absolutely have that. It doesn't require anything dramatic, just small habits, practiced consistently. After working with hundreds of people over the years, entrepreneurs, students, people going through personal crises, I've realized something important. Lasting positivity comes from how you live, not from your circumstances. You don't have to wait for life to get better. You can learn to stay positive even when life is messy. A friend of mine once told me that every morning he woke up with a vague sense of anxiety. No reason, no explanation, just heaviness. He believed the solution was to change his job, change his environment, change everything. But the truth was, what he needed to change was the way he saw his life. And when he began applying these Stoic principles, gradually, slowly, his entire emotional world began to shift. So today I want to invite you to walk with me through these principles, not to become a perfect person, but to become a stronger one. You'll see that positivity isn't distant at all. It's hidden in small choices, taking a deep breath before reacting, accepting reality instead of fighting it, creating moments of silence for your mind, and treating yourself with more kindness. My hope is that by the time you finish this video, you'll feel a sense of softness, an inner lightness not given by life, but created by your own mind. A kind of stability that Stoics have protected for thousands of years. So let's begin. Let's explore these 9 ways of living that can help you stay positive even on the hardest days. And who knows, you might rediscover the peace you didn't realize you lost along the way. When people talk about positivity, many imagine someone who is always cheerful, always strong, always smiling. That's not realistic, nor is it Stoic. Stoics don't force themselves into toxic positivity. They build a foundation strong enough to stay calm no matter how the winds blow. So let's step into the first principle, the foundation of all inner peace. Accept reality as it is. 1. Accept reality as it is. A woman once came to see me during a counseling session. She was going through a painful divorce, and her whole life felt upside down. She told me she wanted to think positive, wanted to move on, wanted to be okay. But she had never stopped long enough to admit that she was hurting. I remember telling her, "You can't heal a wound you refuse to look at." In Stoic philosophy, acceptance isn't surrender, it's simply facing the truth. When you stop running from reality, that's when you finally have space to take the next step. Have you ever gone through something and deep down you know it happened, but your mind keeps trying to twist itself into knots pretending it didn't, as if ignoring it would magically make it go away? The truth is that only keeps you in pain longer. Lasting positivity begins the moment you tell yourself, "This is happening. I don't like it, but I can face it." Acceptance frees up your inner strength. It turns chaos into something you can actually work with. And when your mind is no longer fighting reality, you suddenly have the energy to build a better future. 2. Focus on what's within your control. One of Epictetus's most famous teachings is, "Your peace begins when you stop worrying about things outside your control." It sounds simple, but for modern people it's one of the hardest lessons. We spend way too much time worrying about things we can't change. What others think of us, how the market moves, a nasty comment online, or even tomorrow's weather. I once worked with a former student of mine, a young athlete. He was constantly stressed about his performance, stronger competitors, and a coach who pushed him hard. He said, "So, coach, how am I supposed to stay positive when everything out there is working against me?" I asked him, "Is there anything in that situation you can control?" He paused, then smiled. That's the point. When you focus on what you can do, your attitude, your effort, your response, positivity becomes natural. You're no longer swept away by the chaos we talked about earlier. The moment you take ownership of what's in your hands, you regain your sense of agency. And that feeling, "I can choose my next step," is the foundation of real positivity. 3. Practice gratitude every single day. I know this sounds familiar. Gratitude is everywhere. Books, podcasts, motivational videos. But in Stoicism, gratitude isn't about forcing yourself to feel happy. It's about noticing what's good in the most ordinary moments. During a session, I once met a young man struggling with anxiety. His mind was constantly scanning for worst-case scenarios. When I asked him what was going well in his life, he couldn't answer. Not because his life was empty, but because his mind was too busy searching for problems to notice anything else. I gave him a simple exercise. Write down 3 things you're grateful for each night. They don't have to be big. A good meal, a friend checking in, a quiet moment to breathe. A few weeks later he told me, "I don't feel like my life is full of problems anymore." Gratitude shifts your lens from what you're missing to what you already have. When you start seeing small blessings, your mind naturally softens. That's why Stoics say, when you are grateful, you cannot be unhappy. 4. Create pockets of silence for your mind. A busy mind cannot stay positive. It's like trying to hear a whisper in the middle of a crowded train station. You simply can't. In our digital world, notifications, social media, messages, emails, we're losing the ability to hear ourselves. I once worked with a young woman in a creative field who said her mind felt like a room full of noise with no exit. So we tried a simple habit: sit in silence for 3 minutes a day. No phone, no goal, no pressure to meditate the right way, just sit. 3 minutes, she asked. Yes, I said. What you're missing isn't time. It's space. A week later, she came back smiling. I didn't expect 3 tiny minutes to change my whole day. Silence is like cleaning the mental clutter. When your mind has space, positivity finally has somewhere to land. Stoics treasure silence, not as an escape from the world, but as a way to understand it and understand themselves. 5. Choose your response, not your reflex. One thing I love about Stoicism is how it teaches us to pay attention to the small gap between what happens and how we respond. Stoics say that tiny gap is where our freedom lives. I once watched a colleague get yelled at by a frustrated customer. Everyone expected him to snap back. Instead, he paused, took a slow breath and responded calmly. Later, I asked how he stayed so steady. He said, "I don't want other people deciding my emotional state." That answer was pure stoicism. Many people mistake positivity for constant cheerfulness, but real positivity is the ability to choose the best response, even when your emotions say otherwise. When you pause before reacting, you reclaim ownership of yourself. You say, "My emotions don't drive the car, I do." I once worked with a young father who kept losing his temper with his kids. He felt ashamed afterward. I taught him a small practice. When he felt anger rising, stay silent for 3 seconds. Just 3 seconds. Enough to shift from reflex to intentional response. 3 months later, he told me, "I finally feel like myself again, not a puppet of my emotions." A conscious response is one of the strongest forms of positivity. When you direct yourself, life feels lighter. And once you learn to choose your response, you'll start to notice something fascinating. Many negative emotions don't come from events, they come from your own thinking habits. Which leads us to the next principle, a surprisingly powerful one, limiting exposure to negative energy. 6. Stay away from negative energy. I once worked with a young woman in the marketing industry in New York. She was talented, creative, and had the potential to go very far. But her life revolved around friend groups full of drama, competition, gossip, subtle backstabbing. She told me, "I don't understand why I feel drained every single day, like something is sucking the energy out of me." I asked her one question. "Have you ever stood next to someone who's smoking and still ended up inhaling secondhand smoke?" She paused, then nodded. Negative energy works the same way. You don't have to create it yourself. Just being around it too long is enough for it to seep into you. Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus said that your environment can lift you up or pull you down without you even noticing. So if you want to stay positive, you must have the courage to set boundaries. Not boundaries to push people away, but boundaries that protect your peace. I suggested something simple. Cut out just one social hangout a week. Just one. Use that time to be alone or to be with people who make you feel lighter. 3 weeks later, she returned with a noticeably brighter energy. She said, "I didn't realize how much better I'd feel just by avoiding heavy conversations." Positivity isn't only about what you do, it's also about what you allow into your life. When you choose your environment wisely, your mind naturally becomes lighter. This leads us to the next principle, something simple, yet something modern life often makes us forget. 7. Nourish your body to nourish your mind. Stoic philosophy has always emphasized that the mind and body are not separate. You can't expect yourself to feel positive if you barely sleep, eat irregularly, or let your body run on empty. I remember a young entrepreneur who came to me because he had lost all motivation. He believed he was dealing with a serious psychological issue. But when I asked about his sleep, he laughed and said, "I sleep 4 hours a night on average. Isn't that serious enough?" I told him, the serious part is that you expect yourself to stay positive while living like that. Your body is the foundation of your mind. When you take care of yourself, you're sending a powerful message. I deserve to feel good. When you neglect your body, your mind reflects that neglect. In Stoicism, personal discipline isn't punishment, it's self-respect. Another patient of mine struggled with chronic anxiety. We tried many approaches, but nothing seemed to work. Until I asked about her physical activity. It turned out she hadn't exercised properly in years, so we set a tiny goal, a 10-minute walk every morning, just 10 minutes. 4 weeks later, her anxiety noticeably decreased. The body can heal the mind in ways you would never expect. Positivity often doesn't start with beautiful thoughts. It starts with a good night's sleep, a calm morning walk, or a nourishing meal. When your body is cared for, your mind begins to soften. Positivity becomes a natural byproduct. 8. Learn to let go of what no longer serves you. Some people carry old sadness for years because they believe letting go makes them weak. In reality, clinging to the past is what weakens you. Letting go isn't forgetting, it's acknowledging that you no longer need to carry that burden. I once worked with a man in his 40s who felt like a constant failure. He was carrying guilt from a mistake he made over a decade ago. He retold the story with the same pain as if it happened yesterday. I asked him, "When was the last time this event actually affected your real life?" He went silent. Then I asked, "So why do you let it live in your mind every day?" Sometimes the things hurting you don't exist in the real world anymore. They only exist in your thoughts. Letting go is a skill. You don't do it once and never think about it again. You release it little by little. You practice asking yourself, is this still useful to me? If the answer is no, you let it go. Stoics believe the mind is like a room. If you fill it with too many old dusty things, the new and positive things will have nowhere to enter. Letting go makes you lighter. Being lighter makes you more positive. 9. Live according to your own values. Ultimately, lasting positivity does not come from the outside world. It comes from living in alignment with your values. When you know who you are, you stop being swayed by praise, criticism, expectations, or judgment. I once worked with a young woman who always felt insecure because she'd been living according to other people's expectations. Her job, her relationships, even her lifestyle choices. She said, "I don't understand why I don't feel happy even though everyone thinks I have a great life." I asked her, What do you truly value?" She hesitated, then said, "I've never thought about that." We spent several sessions uncovering her core values, and when she realized that creativity and freedom mattered to her more than anything else, her life began to shift. Not because her circumstances instantly changed, but because, for the first time, she was living by her own standards. When you live according to your values, you don't have to force positivity. Your mind naturally becomes peaceful because you're walking your own path. Real positivity isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's the feeling that your life has direction, meaning, and a strong foundation. And that foundation is your values. As we reach the end of this journey, I want you to take a slow moment to feel what has settled in your heart. Everything we talked about today isn't a set of rigid rules you're required to follow. They're like small maps the Stoics left for us thousands of years ago. Maps can guide you, but the journey is still yours to walk. If there's one thing I hope you remember, it's this. Positivity isn't a destination you reach once and keep forever. It's a choice you make every day. Some days you'll choose well, some days you won't even want to try. And that's okay. Nobody stays positive all the time, not even the people who look like they have perfect lives. What makes someone who lives by Stoic philosophy different is not that their mind never gets heavy, it's that they don't give up when it does. They know how to return to the simple principles we just walked through, accepting reality, focusing on what's within their control, practicing gratitude, creating moments of silence, choosing their response, and then choosing again and again. That's how they build lasting inner peace. A man I once coached told me after several months of practice, I realized I don't need life to get easier. I just need to get stronger. I've held on to that sentence for years because it's deeply Stoic. True positivity doesn't come from a perfect environment. It comes from a mind that's organized, a heart that knows what's enough, and a person willing to face themselves honestly. I hope that when you close this video, you carry at least one principle you can start using today. One deeper breath before reacting, 1 minute of stillness before you rush into the day. One small expression of gratitude to someone you care about. One firm choice to step away from whatever drains your energy. Positivity isn't about changing your whole life, it's about changing the little choices you make and repeating them over and over again. And if this video touched you in any way, even just a little, I want to invite you to become part of the community we're building here at Stoic Awakening More. This isn't just a YouTube channel, it's a place you can return to whenever your mind feels tired. A place where you'll find gentle but powerful reminders. A place where every video gives you a chance to understand yourself a little more clearly. If this Stoic journey feels meaningful to you, hit that subscribe button. Tap like so this message can reach someone else who might need it today. And leave a comment sharing which of the 9 Stoic practices resonated with you most. I read every comment, every story, and I genuinely want to understand you better. Think of Stoic Awakening More as a companion on your path. A companion that won't promise life will be easier, but will promise that you will be stronger. And sometimes, that's all we really need. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next video. We'll continue this journey together, gently, steadily, and a little more stoic every day.